Good afternoon, Sean here, Mountains Garage. I'm always on the hunt for core Turbo 400s. Lately, my pickings have been pretty slim. I did unearth one last weekend, made a deal electronically, and then went to pick it up this morning in southern New Hampshire. And I dragged it home and unloaded it just before a massive rain shower just came through, so that worked out pretty good. And for some reason, I bypassed the others have been sitting here waiting for me to strip, and I rolled it right over on the new stainless bench and put it up there, and so far the bench hasn't fallen over. And I might as well go ahead and strip it and see what's inside it. Let's go take a look at it. There was only one or two pictures posted online. From that, I could see that it had a metal vent. And as I mentioned in the past, this should mean an 8-bolt case with a pump bolts in, despite the fact it's only got a 6-bolt pump, but nothing is rusted. It has a block off where the modulator goes, and the kick down has a freeze plug in it. The little ear's broken off, but little rib, but that won't hurt anything. The tail housing obviously doesn't belong on here, but at least I got a tail housing. It has a passenger car output shaft with no threads for a bolt. The tag on the passenger side rear says CD68. CD is code for Chevelle and Monte Carlo, but they didn't stop making Monte Carlos to 1970, so this is a 68 Chevelle Turbo 400. But it's had lots of work on it, I'm sure, so I'm going to gun it apart and then show you what's inside. First, look inside the pan. I can see it has a gold separator plate with gaskets, so I'll have to source the gaskets for this valve body. Judging by the manual valve, I'm going to guess it is reverse pattern, but I will figure that out. I'm sure there's some writing on the separator plate. The oil was fantastic. You can see some of it there. Definitely well past needing service, but no water, which makes me happy. And the pan is full of fine material. It did have the correct filter. Just has that light gray stuff. I'd call that normal, way beyond when it should have been serviced, but no big chunks of anything. Just, while that's normal, it's a lot of normal, if you know what I'm saying. But we'll keep looking. The case itself, the oil's been doing a good job cleaning it, being high detergent, and it smells good. The oil smells, it's hard to describe. Usually when you open up a transmission, you get an instant whiff of good or bad. So far, this one's good. I took the valve body off. There's a lot of that gray material above the valve body, which is kind of rare for material to get up there, but if it's circulating and it's fine enough, it can go everywhere. Strange, the only place it was a check ball was what's called the number 1, and if you read the book, it says it's useless and to omit it during rebuild. The one check ball this had is right there. Very strange. I find it very interesting and challenging to find these old valve bodies, find the instructions, or ask advice, and get enough parts to make them work again. The separator plate there's no writing on it. It does block off the dual feed. It blocks off that hole right there, so you don't have to do anything to the case or the center support. So I assume I'm going to find the rest of it dual fed. A little bit of weirdness on the rear servo. This is a stock one. The spring and cup are missing, and that's possible, but also missing is the E-clip on the back. The pin's just sitting in there. So whether it was done on purpose or not, again, I got to find the instructions for this old baby and figure it out. Well, I say it's old, I really don't know. I'm just assuming. Now I have the transmission completely stripped, as promised, and I really didn't have any doubt when I saw the metal vent in the picture that this is going to be an 8-bolt transmission regardless of what pump it had in it. Being a 1968, and I believe it still has all its original internals, it has a .370 thousandths wide center support with no fretting ring, And people ask if it wears the case and the need for the threading ring, and I can see where the center support sits, and right next to it at the same level is just the way the casting was. So I don't know how many miles this transmission has on it, but it is showing no concern as far as wear from the center support. But I do prefer the threading ring, given the choice. If I had gone by my initial reaction when I saw the dirty outside of the transmission, and if I had even gone so far as to pull the pan off and look at all the debris in it, I might have said, nah, it's not worth buying. That would have been a huge mistake. This is an excellent transmission, and my suspicion is it was built professionally, and I'll show you some of the clues as to why I believe that. One, despite it's probably an old build, it has Teflon rings. It has what's not a homemade shim under the spring on the pressure regulator. So somebody had a clue what they were doing. It has Teflon on the center support, although I am surprised to see the second seal back. Perhaps when I take the direct drum apart, I'll find the seal missing there. I don't know. It has an old style roller output thrust, perfectly functional. You don't see this much anymore because the TH350 pump bushing works so nice and it's contained. But up above the debris, the gear train and all the clutch packs, which I'm going to show you next, are in fantastic shape. My pump was in perfect shape. No complaints here. The forward drum is so clean you could literally eat off it. You can still see the part number on the clutches. The direct drum has a 34 element sprag. Once again, you can read the part numbers on the clutches. Intermediate, it's just starting to color a little bit in the middle. Cure, they call it. Nothing wrong with that. Can still read the part number. These clutches and steels have a lot of miles left in them. The intermediate clutch pack has a heavy-duty snap ring added. Up above the debris that was in the pan, everything is really in fantastic shape. I believe I've said that a couple times. Now this is an old transmission builder trick for the bleed hole. The first question I asked on the DIY TH400 site on Facebook is what to do with a hole that's been drilled too big, and a couple of seasoned experts told me this is what they used to do. Put a cotter pin in the hole and bend it over to restrict some of the oil if the hole was drilled too big, or perhaps this was done on purpose. I don't know. The direct drum return springs are definitely not stock. They're stiffer than original, but probably not as stiff as the trans brake springs I've been putting in. We'll call them middle of the road. And the center seal was left off the drum. The only mystery is not leaving the second seal back on the center support off, but I have read in some old literature that was optional. So nowadays people just do all three. So it's been said millions of times before, you can't judge a book by its cover. This transmission is living proof. It was ugly in the picture and it was overpriced. I contacted the guy, told him I buy cores all the time and I would pay X amount, and he took it. And he held it for me. Took me 3 days to get there. So I thanked him for that. He's a straight up dude. He knew nothing about it other than he was pretty sure it had a manual valve body. He didn't know the condition, didn't claim to. He knew he kept it inside and it had a 95% chance of not having any water in it. So that was good enough for me. From the picture, I could see it had a lot of potential. Because I've stated before, and I've yet to be proven wrong by myself, it could have happened today. I could have taken that pump out and only had 6 bolts. But a metal vent tube, according to what the law that I read, should always be an 8-bolt case. So, and it has the right drum, aluminum pistons, heavy-duty snap ring. This transmission saved me a ton of money. So, with very minimum effort and parts, I can assemble it as is. I may put a different valve body in it. I don't know yet, but I'm a long ways ahead from where I normally am. Typically, I'm looking at a piece of junk, and I'm going to proceed forward anyway. Normal plan. So this is a pleasant surprise. I could use more of this. I am on an excellent streak right now, and occasionally it bothers me because I wish I had some regular 75 and up 6-bolt case transmissions with nothing special, regular drums, because sometimes that's all people want. They just want just a warmed over street transmission, don't want to pay for all the extra stuff. I don't have any. Every case I got right now is just like that one. Metal vent, 8 bolts, and a couple of them are newer than that and still 8-bolt cases. So far so good. I'm not going to complain because I went a long time only reading about those and not being lucky enough to even find one. So like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll do something different in a couple days. Have a good weekend.